What's up, guys? Ian here, coach of your Ladner Lanturn, bringing you guys our Week 4 Team Builder, taking on Jed and the Adelaide Overheat here in NCL Season 8 of Substrika. We did pick up a win last week, pretty convincing one against Dom. I was very proud of that. But let us consider Jed's team and what is going on here. So, he has Spectrier, Raikou, Florges, Seismitoad, Weezing, Blossom, Mega Pidgeot, Kommo-o, Alolan Ninetales, Bisharp, and Delphox. His priority is just the Bisharp with Sucker Punch, and I guess Alolan Ninetales with Ice Shard, since I did used to point that one out, but it's not really that relevant. Hazard setting, he's got the Seismitoad with Rocks, Weezing with Toxic Spikes, Kommo-o with Rocks, and Bisharp with Rocks. Removal, it's the Florges with Defog, or Mega Pidgeot with Defog. One of them will be carrying it, almost certainly, unless he's running Neutralizing Gas Weezing. 4 times weaknesses, he's got the Seismitoad to Grass, Kommo-o to Fairy, Ninetales to Steel, and Bisharp to Fighting. So quite a few there. I don't know if I covered all of them necessarily. I think I did, though. No, I definitely missed out on Grass. So we're not going to hit the Seismitoad 4 times super effectively, but everything else should be covered there. And yeah, that's all it is. So in terms of what I expect to come versus not come, the only thing I really don't see coming in any way, shape, or form is this Blossom. I just... So to me, it's the only reason you would ever need to bring Blossom against my team is for Rotom-Wash. And I think that having Florges plus Seismitoad would deter Blossom from showing up anyways. I just don't think that it's worthwhile bringing when 2 of my best offensive Pokemon are super effective stab against it, and on top of that, my support Pokemon are also super effective against it, so it's sort of in a weird position where I don't think it's very good defensively, and I also don't think it's very good offensively, just because it's not strong enough to power through my roster. I think Spectrier is kind of a no-brainer. There's really no reason not to bring it against me. In some sort of capacity, it could be sub-disable, could be sub-nasty plot, could just be Scarf, could be Specs. I mean, it's a pretty terrifying Pokemon, so I do have to keep my eyes peeled for that, which is what Kecleon is there for, which we'll get to in a second. Kecleon's also there for the Mega Pidgeot, but Rotom is as well, which again we'll get to in a second. Kommo-o is something that I wouldn't be surprised to not see come here. It's not that great against my team, to be honest with you. I would definitely expect Seismitoad over Kommo-o. Seismitoad's a little bit scarier against my team, and I didn't really prep well for it, which seems to be typical of me. I just tend to not prep very well for Seismitoads, but swapping something out for a Abomasnow didn't make a ton of sense. In hindsight, swapping something out for a Abomasnow might have been the play, but I'm not going that route, and I'm going with this one instead. Weezing, I think, is a for sure bring. It's by far his best scissor answer. By far his best scissor answer. Nothing else handles scissor the same way that Weezing will. Raikou, I think, is probably a good bring, if not a must bring against my team. And I think Bisharp is likely to come, in my opinion. Ninetales, he's been bringing it a lot, but I think it's a little bit less likely against my team. We'll sort of see. Depends on how much he values it to kill Rotom, or if he's just going to pivot and go to the Raikou or the Seismitoad on Rotom every single time. I'm unsure on how he's going to handle that. So on my team, first thing, Delphox I think has some uses, by the way, which is why I didn't fully take it off. I do think that it's okay as like a Scarfer against my team, but I don't think it's the best thing in the world. So Kecleon, I'm running a specially defensive set. Fully designed to just switch into the Spectrier. Can also handle the Raikou in theory. Shadow Sneak is there to just like pick off the Spectrier, but honestly he doesn't have a normal. So, well, sorry, his normal is Mega Pidgeot, which is what my Rotom is for. So Kecleon should be able to just sneak on a lot of stuff and pick them off later on into the game. Knockoff gets rid of leftovers on a lot of stuff, and I think it's super useful. I would rather Knockoff first and then Shadow Sneak against Spectrier than anything else, and Knockoff's just super solid against the squad. I wanted Toxic on there as well, just to be able to pressure the Florges if the Florges is what is going to switch in on me. I have to be careful about turning into a Dark type on a Florges with Protean, but besides that, Toxic is really solid against most of this squad. Weezing is something that I'm a little bit more worried about switching into Kecleon, but I don't think that Weezing can really do much back to me. For example, Nidoqueen is a completely free switch into losing every single time. But yeah, that's Kecleon, and that's pretty much the whole purpose of Kecleon in this game, is that. I realize I'm pretty weak to Bisharp, actually, going through this. So I need to be a little bit more careful about Bisharp. And I had this on there, but I swapped it out for this. There we go. Okay, my prep doc wasn't right. Rotom-Wash. I'm running specially defensive Rotom-Wash with sub Nasty Paw, Toxic, Thunderbolt. Super weird set. But I might be able to set it up and win. I might actually just adjust this while we're on the fly here, because I don't actually think this is as viable as it was before. So we're just going to get rid of a little bit of this, and I'm going to swap this to here, and we'll put on Pain Split. So Volt Switch, Pain Split, Toxic, Thunderbolt. I mean, Toxic is there for the Seismitoad, but in theory I should be able to handle what should we call it, Bisharp a little bit better. just a little bit better. We'll sort of see how this plays out, but I do think a little bit more of a defensive Rotom makes more sense than what I had. I built this on Sunday, and I just sort of like threw it together because I just wanted to get a team done, and that Rotom in theory looked great to me in my mind, but now looking at his team again, it just doesn't play out that well. Anyways, Toxic catches a lot of defensive mons like Seismitoad, Florges, and Como switching on me, and then I've got dual electric stab, but Volt Switch is more important just to get some momentum off this game, because Scissor is coming later, but momentum into Scissor is important in this one, because Scissor looks like it just tears through his team for me. Pain Split for recovery on the Seismitoad, which is just going to be a lot more helpful. And that's about that for Rotom. It's the Pidgeot switch in. It's my flying resist. Aerodactyl is just not good enough as a Pokemon. I'm definitely looking into dropping Aerodactyl, by the way. May or may not happen next week. We'll sort of see how I feel after this game. But I have some drops planned out with my remaining transactions, and I might pull the trigger on those depending on how I feel. Nidoqueen, I'm running dual stab, dual hazards. So this is an interesting one. I am running Pasho Berry so that I can eat a Seismitoad hit, but primarily it is for Scald Raikou. I don't think that he's going to go with Extra Sensory in this game. I think he would go with Scald, because it hits stuff better, and he always has the burn chance on things like Kecleon that would want to switch in over Extra Sensory, which I don't think makes as much sense. So I do think that he's bringing the Scald for the Nidoqueen and not the Extra Sensory. I am running dual hazards because I think T-Spikes just massacres this team. It does make Toxic a little bit less viable on the Kecleon and the Rotom. But if that is the case, then that's the case. Rocks are a lot more important, of course, for the Pidgeot chip, but T-Spikes will just help me a lot more against like sub Spectrier and Raikou. I can't remember exactly what I'm hitting with the damage threshold here, but I'm running a little bit of special defense investment so that I live +1 Scald, I want to say, all the time from Raikou. +2 Scald at full with Pasho or something like that. Anyways, that's the purpose. That's specially defensive EVs on the Nidoqueen. Might be to take like Blizzard from a Alola Ninetales or something like that, but relatively bulky Nidoqueen designed to set up hazards in his face. Scissor, I'm just running Banded Scissor. This thing just demolishes his team with Bullet Punch. I mean, his resists are Seismitoad, Weezing, and Raikou, and actually he's got more resists, Delphox and Bisharp. But Technician Bullet Punch picks off all the frail stuff really, really effectively, and Banded U-Turn early on into the game is just going to be able to take lives. I'm running a little bit of speed investment just to outspeed something that would want to speed creep a Scissor, so like a Weezing. So I should be able to outspeed no speed Weezing if it's running like Flamethrower or something. I wouldn't put it past him to just run a little bit extra speed to cover me doing something like this, but we'll sort of see how it plays out. I do have Defog on this to get rid of screens, as well as his own Toxic Spikes if my Nidoqueen is dead, and Rocks from Seismitoad. And then Brick Break in a pinch if I really need to get rid of his Aurora Veil, and I still want to be able to do damage. So that's the purpose of the Scissor. It does pick off Pidgeot from very high health. Oko's Alola Ninetales obviously destroys Florges as well as Spectrier, so a lot of those are pretty important targets, and it also demolishes Bisharp in most cases. Mega Gardevoir, I'm running a bulky Mega Gardevoir with an interesting EV spread here. So Gardevoir is outspeeding the Como-O, which allows me to run Modest against his team. Pretty interesting that I can run that I can afford to run Modest against the team on Mega Gardevoir here, but it does offer me a lot of protection. And it also means that I get a little bit of extra bulk on there. So I do have a little bit of defense EVs, and I'm running Modest just for the damage output. Because it helps me in a couple situations. But once I get a Calm Mind up, I'm in a pretty solid spot to just hit stuff really, really hard. So I'm running Calm Mind 3 attacks. Hyper Voice should be able to deal with a lot of stuff. The only thing it's not going to be able to deal with is like Wheezing and Florges and what do you call it? Soundproof Como, which is what I'm running Psyshock for. I thought about Psychic, but Psyshock lets me hit the Florges better if I'm in a Calm Mind war against it. Excuse me, and then Mystical Fire will hit the... what? What do I have Mystical Fire on here for? It might actually be better for me to run like Sub, Wish, or Shadow Ball in this place. I don't know why I have Mystical Fire. I feel like I have Mystical Fire to catch something and then get a drop on it, but it's not really that useful when I realize that his Steel is neutral to Fairy. So I think I'm going to scrap the Mystical Fire, and we're going to run... Shadow Ball would be best for Delphox, which I'm not prepping for at all. Then I'd at least have some coverage for it, and maybe a little bit hit, and I can Shadow Ball it back. I think Sub. I'm going to go with Sub. Because then if I can Sub on a defensive Mon, I'm in a much better position. So I think we're going to go with that, but that's the Gardevoir set. It's going to do a ton of, it's going to pump out a ton of damage. I mean, I keep reiterating this, but we learned that bulky Mega Gardevoir is just the best thing in existence. Last but not least is Dragapult. This is really interesting. Dragapult should be able to clean up the game in most cases. Infiltrator allows me to bypass Veil, so I'm not that concerned about Veil, which is another reason why I don't think Alolan Ninetales is necessarily going to come. I am worried a little bit about Sucker Punch, however, from the Bisharp, so I have to worry about that. I would probably take the 50-50 if he were to bring in Bisharp, and whether or not I know it has Sucker Punch, I would probably take the 50-50 late game and just Dragon Dance again and try and play a Mind Game with him. We'll see how that works out. I'm Kasib Berry so that I can deal with the Spectrier, because I'm a little bit more worried about the Spectrier than the Bisharp. But it might have been a mistake not to run Culver here. I'm just fully physical with Dragon Dart, Steel Wing, Phantom Force, and Dragon Dance. I wanted to run a little bit more of an aggressive speed creep, but Spectrier speed ties Aerodactyl, so there's no reason for him not to just be timid max speed against my team. So I'm speed creeping the Spectrier, so I should definitely outspeed it unless it's Scarfed. Dragon Dance, I'll outspeed everything on the team without fail after that. Dragon Darts hits a lot of stuff really, really well. He does have double Fairy and a Bisharp, so I'm a little bit more worried about the Bisharp in terms of what my Dragapult can hit it with. But Steel Wing should be able to deal with the Florges and the Alolan Ninetales decently. I do need a little bit of chip on the Florges, or I need it, or I need to be boosted higher. And then Phantom Force just lets me clean stuff up later in the game. Bypass things like Wish turns from the Florges, things like that. So that is the team. It's not looking as great as I had initially anticipated. The matchup's not as good as I had originally thought, but hopefully it's going to go well for us. So, oh, actually, I didn't talk about the stuff that's not coming. Aerodactyl is just a giant waste of space. I don't even know why I have this Pokemon. I'm definitely wanting to drop it regardless of the other trades that I do. It's probably, even if I don't want to do the other trades, it's probably just going to go anyway, if I'm being completely honest with you. Alolan Persian I also thought could come to this game, but Soundproof Como really just denies what Alolan Persian wants to do, and it doesn't really check anything besides maybe Bisharp. But I need to be like, I don't know, Rocky Helmet or something like that to be able to handle Bisharp, so I just don't think it does the best job in the world. It could be an alright taunter, though, against something like Seismitoad, which I've really underestimated in my build here. Infernape, I believe I originally had on the plan and then took it off. It's pretty good as just like a revenge Scarfer against a lot of things. And I wanted like Brick Break and stuff. It threatens Bisharp a little bit more. I think I had like a special set with like Vacuum Wave to threaten the Bisharp. But I dropped it last second for Rotom because I realized I had absolutely zero resistances to the Mega Pidgeot, which is a little bit more important to me. Abomasnow could definitely have come this game. Abomasnow looks fine, and it would help me set up my own Veil with his little Ninetales. I wouldn't even have to run, like, there's a world where I don't even have to run Sound, what do you call it, Snow Warning against him, because he's got the other Hail Setter. And Luxray is probably not coming in this one, considering it's a water ground type and not just a water. There's nothing that Luxray really beats. I just spilled water on my PC. So anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I will catch you guys for the match.